morning, friends, wherever you are, and welcome to today's Cichlids and Coffee live stream. And I hope wherever you are, you're having your favorite beverage, whatever that might be. And in a perfect world, you're having it out of a Cichlids and Coffee mug. A shameless plug. So let's see. Hey, Paul, good to see you in the house there, buddy. I think you're the first one on the chat. Fly guy in the house. Larry. Hey, Larry, good to see you. Larry O'Brien is here. Kent AJDK in the house. Good afternoon to you, my friend. Ron in the house. Hey, GP, good to see you, buddy. Hey, Brian. Brian in the house. B Wood 22. It's finally not raining. Yeah, we've got some nice, beautiful weather here in Nashville. Let's keep it a secret, though. Michael in the house. Raisin Fishes. Scotty is here. All right, more folks are getting on. Let's give them a second. Bill D in the house. Good morning to you. Hey, Kendall. Good to see you. We have some heaven in the chat. Hi there. Hi there to you, Heaven. All right. All right, more folks are getting on. Let's go ahead and give them a chance. In the meantime, let's go ahead and just go ahead and just do that official start right off the bat. What do you say? There you go. Now, just some of you have noticed when the live stream uploads to YouTube, for some reason YouTube thinks a commercial every 90 seconds is a good idea. They default all of these commercials into the live stream. So I'm trying different things today. I have it set up, and I'm hoping it works. I hope I understood it correctly, that it's going to automatically create an ad every 20-something minutes, like 25, 28 minutes. So if an ad comes up during the live stream, that's hang in there. It doesn't mean I've left. It doesn't mean the live stream is over. It just means that YouTube is inserting an ad. I'm trying to do this so that when it uploads, it doesn't have an ad every 90 seconds, which is absolutely absurd. I don't know in what world that would be okay or why YouTube would do that, but I'm trying different things to try and offset that. So there you go. My mini rant. Hey, Whip, good to see you there, buddy. Whip's World in the house. Did I say hi, Bill D? More folks jumping on. Come on board. Tell all your friends. Share the link. Let's cave the floors in. All right. So today we're going to talk about something that was inspired, like so much of what I'm doing these days, was inspired by a question that somebody posted underneath one of my videos. And the question was essentially, I want to get an aquarium with a budget of about $1,000. The big X factor in the question was that they want a predator tank. Now, by predator is not a scientific term. It's just sort of something that just sort of come along in the hobby. But predators are usually considered your haps, your African cichlid, haplochromis fish that can get pretty large. So right off the bat, we're thrown, unless this person plans on growing them out from fry or from 1 or 2 inch, right off the bat, we're thrown into a pretty big footprint. So to have a successful hap tank and for the fish to have enough room so that they don't feel they have to fight for territory, or you feel like you have to put 100 fish in there to spread the aggression. There's a sort of a balance here that we have to find. So you're going to need a footprint, in my opinion, a minimum, roughly around 6 feet across. Now, I have had 5 foot across tanks work. I had one in California, an acrylic. I think it was Clear for Life acrylic with a rounded front corners. I love that tank. I kind of wish I'd brought it with me to Nashville, but it was about 100 gallons, and I had peacocks in there, and they got along okay. But I would say 6 feet across, 7 feet even better. But you're going to need about 6 feet if you want haps, because otherwise they're just going to feel like they've got to fight for every inch, and you're going to have a problem. So with $1,000, I did a little bit of searching. First of all, custom tanks, custom-made tanks, right off the bat, those are pretty much off the table. Unless you're willing to maybe find a manufacturer that will sell you a blem, and by a blem I mean an aquarium that has maybe a bubble or two in the seal, or maybe there was a little dent in the frame, something that kept them from selling it, and so that now they have it in inventory, and sometimes they'll sell those for a bargain price. But your custom made tanks are probably off the table with $1,000 budget and a need for a 6 foot tank. So your next choice is probably going to be going to either a local fish store, which can be very comparable to your custom shops with regards to price, or going into a big box store. I checked some of the 125s at Petco, and they had one that was on sale for $4.95. So there goes half our budget. Now, keep in mind, this is just the tank. No stand, no lights, no substrate, no decor, and no fish. Just your glass box, $4.95. Okay, we want a stand. We're probably going to be looking at about $300. So we're already at $800. We have a long way to go. So if that $1,000 budget is a hard line, that's like a real solid ceiling there. We're probably going to have to go the second-hand route. I've had great success with second-hand tanks. I've had 135s, 150s. The 100 I just mentioned was a second-hand. You can get great deals on second-hand tanks. I'll show you something. I just did a very light. I just kind of did a light peruse here, and almost immediately I stumble across this. This is a pretty massive tank on Craigslist, and you're gonna get the stand. You're gonna get pretty much everything here for about $500. This is 150 gallon. It's a pretty good deal. It doesn't include the decor, I believe. But you get a stand, you're getting... now, I ran across another one that was about $600 that included the lights and an FX6. So, if you go the Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace route, and you've got some buddies, because you're probably gonna have to go pick this thing up. Very rare that they'll want to deliver it, and you got some buddies. You're gonna be able to pick up something big enough for haps, for your predators, for your African cichlids, in the neighborhood of about 500. And that's going to include a stand. And if you're patient and wait, you'll find one that comes with an FX6, an OACE, a sump with pumps, lights, and in some cases, a full canopy. If you're patient and you look for the right deal. Now, if you get a tank, I mean, definitely look for scratches. Because if the tank is empty and you see scratches and the person says, oh, you can't see them when it fills up, that's not true. Any scratches you can see on an empty tank, chances are you're going to see them when that tank is full. And if it bothers you, don't buy the tank, because you'll obsess on the scratch, believe me. The scratch will also fill with algae, just to shove it in your face. Now, have I gotten an AV check, by the way? Did someone give me an AV check that I didn't see? I am going back over the chat. Now, Fly Guy says that for $1,000 you can set up a nice betta tank. Oh, I thought that was funny. Hey, Jerry. Good to see you, buddy. AV is okay. Thank you, Kent. I appreciate that. Now, in California, I picked up a 100, I think it was 150 gallon, and I emphasize this next word, acrylic. 150 acrylic. Custom made stand, beautiful flush front doors and side access doors, with a sump. And I think I did have to buy the pump. I ended up buying the Cichlid 9.0 with a canopy. And it was like $450. Amazing. Now, that was a while back. I'm not sure if you can get that deal today. But you try and buy an acrylic today in that configuration, you're probably going to be in the $4,000, $3,500 to $5,000, depending where you buy it. And the custom stand, my favorite stand I've ever owned, that I sold when I left California. Beautiful stand. So on a $1,000 budget, you're going to be stuck probably with a secondhand setup. If you buy a glass tank, and that glass tank, usually on the bottom, there'll be some kind of a sticker that states the manufacturer and the manufacturing date. If that date is around 10 years, you should probably do a reseal. A reseal is very, very simple. I've done them myself. Just be sure you do them in a highly ventilated area, or you'll end up a little dizzy. And be sure that your blade doesn't get between the actual pieces of glass. You're just removing the silicone that is on the surface, not the adhesive that holds the plates together. So you go ahead and using a straight edge, you scrape out, do a real good job cleaning that all off, maybe use a little alcohol, get it really cleaned up, and then get in there and reseal it using whatever kind of silicone, aquarium safe silicone sealant you want. I personally prefer the clear sealants. Some people like the white. There are lots of videos on YouTube on how to reseal an aquarium and do it in a way so you end up with clean edges as opposed to just a real messy, just a bunch of a goop everywhere. So, okay, so now we've got an aquarium. We've got a used aquarium that we picked up. It came with a stand, and it came with a filter, and maybe not some lights. And we're at about $500 to $600. Now we have the question of substrate. Do you go with some type of a commercially like something you would pick up from like play sand or gravel that you would pick up like in a construction sales site type of place, like a quarry, Home Depot, a Lowe's, right? You can pick up like 50 pounds for $5 to $10, right? I saw 5 pounds of, is it Carib or Caribe Sea at Petco, 5 pounds for $10. So if you really want high quality sand that's been tumbled and isn't going to have any real, like anything that could possibly be as an abrasive to the lips and gills, because African cichlids are, they sift a lot. They're like geos. Where's my geo in here? They're like geos. They like getting in there, and it comes out of it goes between the gill plates. And so you may want to go with a fish specific substrate, but you're going to pay between 3 to 5 times more than if you go into a construction type store or hardware store and pick up a couple 50-pound bags of, let's say, lapis luster. That's that real nice tan beige with little black specks in it, like I have in the 90-gallon. That's called lapis luster. You got to wash the heck out of it, but it'll work. It'll work, and it'll keep you closer to your budget. Right now, how much you're going to need? You're probably going to need, I would say, minimum 200 pounds. If you want to run a deep substrate, 300, 350, 400 pounds. So this is why, especially if you're going to run a deep substrate, you go in and pick this kind of stuff up at a Petco or something. You're just gonna get, it's just gonna be a big chunk of change. Now, sometimes your Petcos, your big box stores will run sales, so it's worth checking. And sometimes they'll deliver for free. So again, shop. Now, the lapis luster that I have in my 90-gallon, which is probably the substrate that gets complimented the most, I picked that up from a local fish keeper who had changed their mind. They were going to decorate their tank, and at the last minute changed their mind about what kind of substrate, and so they just they gave me just a real great deal on a few 100 pounds of lapis luster, which worked out perfectly for the 90-gallon. So again, if you're not in a hurry and you're willing to shop, there are some deals out there. Again, check under substrate, check under aquarium sand, aquarium gravel. You have to search under various words. Just like when you go to Craigslist, you've got to search aquarium, fish tank, fish aquarium for fish. Search in every possible wording you can imagine, because sometimes that's when what you're looking for will come up, because it's people will list their things with different tags and different headings. So really vary the wording in whatever area you're searching. Now, we're going to get to your questions and comments very shortly. And I want to hear what you folks have done to come in under budget in the setup of your aquariums. Tell me the size of your aquarium. Tell me where you ended up getting it, how much you paid, if you don't mind telling me. What was your total cost between substrate, filtration? Because now we're getting into, we have the aquarium, we have the substrate. Now we have to look at heating, and heating a 100+ tank, right? Usually the rule of thumb is a watt for every 5 gallons, right? So you're going to need a couple hundred, you're going to need about to be on the safe side, 300 watts, and you're going to Well, no, that's wrong. You're going to need two 300-watt heaters or a large 500 maybe. Yeah, you can play with that. You figure, yeah, I think maybe 300. I mean, I tend to run, I like to run out of redundancy, and me personally, what I would do is I would put a couple 300s in there running through a controller. So you're going to be with the controller, depending on the type of heater, you're probably at about $200. Because I'm looking at a controller from Gemco, a heavy-duty controller that is rated at 1,000 watts. It can handle 1,000 watts running through it. So when you use a controller for your heaters, for those of you not familiar, a controller shuts off the power to your heaters when the desired temperature of your aquarium is met, and that way it prevents overheating your tank. I highly recommend controllers. I've cooked fish with a faulty heater before. It's no fun. So when you buy a controller, you've got to check the wattage rating of the controller and make sure that it is set up to handle the amount of watts you're going to be running through it. The heavy-duty controllers with 2 sockets from Gemco will run you between $100 and $150. But there's other ones out there. Okay, so what do we got? We've got a tank, we've got substrate, we've got heat, lights. You want to go high-end lights, forget it, you're over budget. Right? Even something like Beamsworks to handle a tank 72 inches across, you're in the neighborhood of about $75 to $125, somewhere in there. You can also go with your Hygger lights. Hygger lights for me have been great. If you're able to score some aquarium co-op lights, I think they've stopped making them, but that's gonna be $100, and you're gonna need 2 of them because I think their biggest size is 45. I've got 3 of them on this tank and 3 of them on the 300 gallon. So you may want to go with your full spectrum Hygger lights. Get a couple of the biggest size they make, and you'll end up probably around $100. So we're right around $800 right now, maybe more, maybe $900. We're getting up there. Now keep in mind, we don't have any fish. We don't have any decor. Now, do you want to put a background on your tank? Now, chances are, if you went through Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, the aquarium you picked up already has a painted back or maybe even a 3D background. Folks that sell those tanks, they just throw that stuff in. They have no use for it. But if you end up with a tank with no background and you want a background, you can buy the acrylic, right, like the Velamax that I've talked about in prior videos. You can buy those Velamax sheets, put those on. You'll probably end up about $40-50. But those are great because when you're tired of them, you just peel them off. So the truth is, we haven't added decor, we haven't added artificial plants or rocks. You can pick up real cheap rocks at quarries. Find yourself a local quarry, buy some rocks there. You can buy them at the aquarium shop, but you're going to pay a lot of money. Now, I'm assuming that we got filtration with the aquarium. If we didn't get filtration, we're in a whole other ballgame. What are you going to use for media? What filtration do we put on a 125? I mean, depending on your setup, I would put maybe a couple large canisters. If it's drilled, of course, you would go with a sump. But if it's not, I would put a couple FX6s, a couple Sun 704s, or a couple Sun 3000s. And then you could run, if you're running a deep substrate, you can go all sponges in there. Go from a medium to from coarse to medium sponges. That would do the work. That would do the job. Put a pre-filter on your intakes, and you're pretty much good to go. All you're missing now is maybe some conditioner. I would buy some Fritz-Zyme. Enough Fritz-Zyme for 100 gallons, going to run you about maybe $40. Get some Fritz-Zyme, condition the tank, add the Fritz-Zyme, and immediately add fish. Because the bacteria from the Fritz-Zyme is going to need food, and the food is going to be the poop from your fish and the food that you're feeding the fish, right? So put the Fritz-Zyme in, immediately add the fish. Not a ton of fish. I would start off with maybe 3 or 4, and then continue to add groups of 3 or 4 until you end up at the volume of fish that you want. In an ideal world, start with those predators between so they're just large enough to where you can tell the sex. Just large enough to be certain they're a male. Some people out there sell 1-inch cichlids and guarantee him as a male. That's impossible. You can't do that. Now, some of you out there might have seen an ad, and hopefully this is working. And you're getting an ad in the background, or you're getting an ad that will then end up being the frequency of ads in the upload. Because when I go to my uploads, after they finally allow me to edit, and I see an ad every 90 seconds inserted by YouTube, it drives me crazy. And the first comment is, a commercial every 90 seconds. Come on, YouTube. All right, so now fish. What are you going to do about fish? Where are you going to get your fish? Well, let's use that as a segue to do a shout out to one of my sponsors, and I'd like to just do a shout out here to Cunningham Tropicals, a great source of fish. And let me put the Cunningham banner under there. I got the Teespring banner. Let's get the Cunningham banner. There we go. Now, he's still offering that 15% off as far as I know. So take advantage of that. 15% off. Let me see if I can move it over. There we go. 15% off on all fish and dry goods. So a big shout out to Josh over at Cunningham Tropicals. And while I'm on the topic, I'd also want to do a couple other quick shout outs. Let me just set them up so that they appear correctly. This next shout out is to my friends over at Aquarium Co-op, who have been a good friend of this channel. If you're not familiar with Aquarium Co-op or haven't used them, check them out. They are legit. If you'd like to support the channel, consider visiting my Teespring store. I do have a discus mug available now. The discus that are over my shoulder here are depicted on the mug. Those are actually my discus. Check it out. And there's also other stuff, t-shirts and all kinds of good stuff. And apart from my usual shout out to my wonderful moderators, I also want to do a shout out to my wonderful Patreon supporters. Let me go ahead and get that up, and I want to do a special shout out to Charmaine Thomas and Dawn and Sharon Freilich, who are brand new Garage Gang members, brand new Patreons. So check out the Patreon. It's a great way to support the channel. Starts for as little as $3 a month. It's very appreciated. Really helps out. Whip World. Whip is a Patreon. And Jerry's a Patreon. I have several Patrons here on the stream right now. Thank you so much to all of you. Like I like to say, and it is true, it helps out in more ways than you know. Now, lastly, another last plug here, and then we'll be commercial. We'll be plug free. But a simple way to help the channel is to visit is when you shop at Amazon. And as I like to say, who doesn't shop at Amazon? Use this link to get there. Amazon.com/shop/ben.o.cichlid. And anything you buy at Amazon will give the channel a small credit. Doesn't change your price. Your price stays the same. But it sweeps a little bit into the channel. And it adds up. It's not a ton. They send me a little stipend every month. But that's an easy way to support the channel for those of you who would like to support the channel. And of course, you're also supporting the channel by watching, giving the video a thumbs up, subscribing, sharing, right? Hitting that notification bell. All of you out there are supporting the channel by being on the live stream. And that is very, very appreciated. All right. So where are you going to get fish? Cunningham's a great source. I've got some cichlids now from Snake River. Snake River, that fish was rock solid. I also have some fish from Fritz down in Texas. That's Beantown Aquatics. And we're trying to work something out for some more cichlids. Those are all great African cichlid sources. If you have sources for fish, go ahead, mention them in the chat. Go ahead and give them a plug. If you have somebody you like, it's not going to get blocked. You're not going to get blocked from the channel. If you have somebody that you've bought fish from and you had a good experience, go ahead and share it in the chat. I'd love to hear about it. All right, now, M&C Aquatics. Heat the room except for temp-sensitive fish. Now, that's a very good point. I've thought about the whole concept of heating the room, but when you have discus, are you going to heat your room at 85 degrees? Now, your discus will be happy, but you'll be miserable every time you come downstairs. Every time you go in your fish room, you're going to be miserable. So that's a good point. M&C. Fly Guy, I think you're right. When it comes to backgrounds, and you can buy non-toxic black acrylic paint. It's like made for kids doing school projects. It's like the perfect type of thing to use when you're going to have, you're using paint on something that conceivably maybe a drop could get in. I don't know. But yeah, go with a non-toxic paint. And the acrylic paint, as opposed to like the spray, like the spray can paint, the acrylic paint you can scrape off with a razor blade when you get tired of it. The spray on, forget about it. That thing is on there so rock solid. I mean, maybe you can scrape it off, but it's going to be a lot of work. The acrylic paint will peel off. And so let's say you want to go, you got sick of black, you want to take it off, it comes right off with a blade. Or let's say you want to go to a dark blue or maybe a white background. I mean, that I've seen all kinds of, just comes right off, peels right off. The same thing with Velamax, but Velamax is going to cost you money. Velamax is not cheap, but like this tank is Velamax. And over time, you might get a little bit of water between the back, and you can take it all off, clean it, and reattach it. I've got a section back here which gotten some humidity. But again, you get sick of it. You want to go with a different color. It pulls right off. So no worries. Now, if you have an M&C says shop lights, yeah. I mean, the only problem with shop lights is you're ending up with a bit of a yellow. They tend to be in the yellow band of frequency, right? You're not going to get like a full spectrum, but I've seen some that look good. B. Wood, how about a Taylor Swift poster? Are you a Swiftie, Brian? You know, when she performed here in downtown Nashville, they had to shut down downtown. It was like it was all shut off, and anyway, she's a big deal. I think she's okay. My daughters love her. My daughters are obsessed. You know, that's Fly Guy, you could be right. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people will sell these big tanks at a bargain. You hope they're being honest. I mean, I've gotten them from folks that were leaving the hobby or were moving. I sold some great tanks at a great deal because I was moving and didn't want to take my tanks across country. But you're right. Someone else might have been having a problem, so it's like, you know, buyer beware. I mean, you can usually tell by really examining a tank, looking for mineral deposits and things like that. You can tell if there was a leak. Usually acrylics are going to be pretty leak proof, but if you see a tank with a brown, one of those old wood grain style frames, chances are that's a 10, 15, 20-year-old tank. And yeah, you might be buying someone else's problem. I wouldn't buy a 200-gallon, a 150 or larger, older marine land tank, because they used to have these problems where they would bust in the middle. They would crack. I don't know why, but a crack would start at the bottom. I mean, forget it. You can't. I mean, you get a little leak up here, at the top here. You can lower your water level. Even if you bow a little bit, which I've had happen to me, you bow a little bit, you can put a brace, you can get a brace and brace it. But you get a crack down here, you're done. You're finished. You're looking for big Tupperwares to put your fish in. So yeah. Now some of these tanks, yes, you will make your money back. I know someone talking about money back. You'll make them if you buy a good deal on a good deal on an acrylic. You're good, and it doesn't have scratches. You're going to be able to turn that thing over for probably what you paid, because acrylics are so expensive, and they're so desirable because they're actually more see-through than glass. Even though Joe and the team at Glass Cages tell me that they have a certain kind of glass, Starfire or Sapphire, some kind of a glass that is more see-through than acrylic. They've done some kind of process on it. Not cheap, but very see-through. Proverbs is late. That's okay, my friend. You don't need a note. Sometimes I've asked for a note. Whip has 250-gallon tanks willing to bet they are over 20 years old. Yeah. Did you reseal them? Did you do a reseal on them? Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, yeah, they might have just been really, really well made. Hey, Vibes. Another one of my wonderful moderators. Vibes and Whip and Jerry and GP. Oh, okay, Proverbs. So that note will carry. We'll use that one again. Yeah, acrylic is fly guy. Acrylic scratches very easily. It does require a whole different type of cleaning, right? You have to be like super gentle. I mean, you get one little teeny piece of gravel, little 0.5 millimeter, and you'll just score up. You'll just scratch up the whole thing. Look how big this Oscar's getting. Come here, buddy. I got him. He was about that big when I got him. Just a beast. All right. I think Kevin Green, ex-colleague Kev, I was thinking about Kevin Green the other day because he got the original, this is Ben with the 60-gallon cichlid tank. He bought that tank from me, came over with his daughter. We even made a video. And I think due to circumstances, personal things in life, he actually got out of fish for a while. But he told me that the fish, including that beautiful redhead fish I had in there, that was just gorgeous. I used to call them Photoshop. All of those fish, he said, were doing great and had gone to a new home. But yeah, I was thinking about Kevin Green the other day. It's DSGF. If you go to the gem, it starts with a J, and I think it's JE. There's a JHEMCO, JEHMCO.com, and you just go into controllers, and you can get them with 1 or 2 plugs. Get the 2-plug unit, and it runs between 100 and 125. There's only a couple of them there, and just make sure it's rated for 1,000 or more watts. And they're beasts. They're just big, chunky, heavy controllers, like industrial quality. And I'm running 2 of them currently, and they'll last you forever. And I believe it is. Let's see here. Let me check something. Hold on. Yeah, it's JEHMCO.com. And if you just go to the website and type in controller or heaters, it might be under heaters too. Temperature controller is how it's listed. And the model I have is the ETCI -1R wired. So you don't want it to come raw and disassembled, or you have to do any work on it. mean, really look it over closely just to make sure that it has the right wattage. Make sure you have the let's say that you need a longer cord. It comes with a 6.5 foot cord. Let's say you want an 8 foot cord. They'll do an 8 foot cord. You want 2 plugs. They'll do 2 plugs. You want to, so you can see some of the, I don't know if you can make that out, but you can see some of the, it's a lot of glare. But yeah, JEHMCO. If you're not familiar with that website, folks, check it out. It's like a wholesale warehouse that sells to the public, and you can get media, you can get all kinds of stuff there at a pretty good price. And they used to have a horrible website, but they've improved their website. But check them out. I'm not sponsored by them. All right, I'm checking out your. You're welcome. I'm checking out your comments. If there's a comment that you would like for me to see in particular, be sure to start it with ben.o.cichlid, and that way it jumps out at me on the chat. Brian Wood says that he can pick out a male that's at 1 inch. Well, the reason there's a vendor, a pretty popular vendor that's been around for a long time, who used to sell guaranteed males. They used to come in at under an inch or less, and used to guarantee them as males. And it was almost impossible. I mean, I tried to vent them. I couldn't make out the sex. But you're saying that at 1 inch you can guarantee a male. If you feel you can, I believe you. Jala Reef is a beautiful fish, by the way. Sometimes you can end up with a pointed dorsal and a pointed anal fin. That can be a tip. But if I had $1 for every fish that I held on to for too long, only to discover it was a female, happened in particular with. I remember it happened a couple times with sand divers, and once I think it happened one time with an eye biter. I ended up, the fish ended up a pretty good size and still no color. The rounded dorsal fin and the rounded, that was the giveaway. Imperial Tropicals. Michael is recommending Imperial Tropicals. Yeah, they're legit. They are legit. And yep, Mike is a good guy. I've had the pleasure of meeting him once. Don't know if he'd remember me, but I do remember him. And yeah, Josh is awesome too. Unfortunately, the links sometimes don't show in the chat. You're right. Predatory Fins. I've met the owner of Predatory Fins. Great guy. He used to go to Aquashella. Not sure if he does anymore. He used to have to take in like a 800-gallon tank to display the fish he had, but that's a lot of work. I think he's back in Florida. Didn't he go up to New Jersey? And then now he's back in Florida. I don't know. He was his location. I think he might be back in Florida. Miguel says Goliad Farms in Texas has great peacocks. Not familiar with them. I'll have to check them out. Goliad Farms. Fly Guy, that's true. And something you have to consider is that how mistake friendly is it? How forgiving is it if you make a mistake? So that's a good point. MK.cichlid, recommended by, let me see here, Cichlids of the Americas, retired. Oh, okay. Cichlids of the Americas used to have a massive selection. Probably the biggest selection of viejas I'd ever seen. Did they retire and leave altogether and shut down, or did they sell it to somebody else? Because I know he had a massive facility. B. Wood is definitely not a Swiftie. Okay. Okay. Vibes is doing his maintenance. It's amazing. Hey, Zip, it's amazing how many people use the live stream as their background music. Well, you know, Whip, that was very smart. And even after I did a reseal, I let it sit for 48 hours so that, you know, everything would cure and dry. And then I filled it with water and I let it sit for several days outside. And then I drained it and brought it in. But yeah, you've got to do that. You don't want to don't want to find out it's leaking inside, especially when you're gone all day. Well, that's interesting. Can AJDK use the old filter material for a background? I guess you could carve that up, give it some texture. Alishan in the house. Yushudagzi. I really can't even make that out. But welcome to the live stream. Michael's Fish Room. I thought Michael retired. He always seemed a little stressed. And I think there might have been some personal things that went on. Heaven. I'm going to speak to Heaven now. But not in the way you think. My Jack Dempsey, who's back here, and I featured her in a short recently. In a short video, will go through periods where she will not eat. And she just sort of works through it. And I let her work through it. Now, I have had other fish that didn't eat because they were sick. You'll notice their belly either bloats out, which means they might have bloat, or some kind of parasite, or they get a sunken belly. And that's a real big problem. In which case you need to pull the fish out, put them into a small tank. I would first start with salt treatment, usually a dissolved tablespoon for every 5 gallons of aquarium salt. Epsom salt will also work. Kosher salt works. Some fish are just finicky. The red-spotted gold severum, I've made the mistake of spoiling him. And now this is practically the only thing he wants to eat. Premium earthworm pellets from Cunningham Tropicals. My fault. My fault for spoiling him. So I would try something they can't resist. And that usually would be like frozen bloodworms. Perhaps soaking some pellets in in garlic guard, in some garlic, that might work. Changing up your food, that could work too. Your North Fin foods usually include garlic. So that should be, that if you're not using North Fin, that might work because it already has garlic built into it. But garlic guard, if he doesn't start eating with garlic guard, doesn't go after something that's normally irresistible. Now, I wouldn't give bloodworms. I've heard different stories about bloodworms with African cichlids. I wouldn't do that with African cichlids. I would give African cichlids frozen krill. Usually they can't resist frozen krill. Throw a couple drops of garlic with the frozen krill and they lose their mind. It's like catnip. But try something that they can't resist. If that doesn't work and he's becoming skinny, emaciated, or bloated, pull him out and run him through some maybe some Paracleanse, some Fritz Paracleanse. But I wouldn't do the meds. I would do salt first. See if they respond to the salt. If the salt doesn't result in having it get better, I would also maybe try a Paracleanse. Metro, stronger medications like Metro can also work. Sometimes to get the medication into their body, you more effectively, you need to soak maybe some pellets in the medication with a little bit of garlic. Don't let it soak too long because it'll just dissolve, turn into powder when it goes in the tank. Just dissolve for just a few seconds, just back and forth, soak for a few seconds and drop it in. See if that helps. And good luck with that. A few years ago, I would have answered yes to this question, but I am a cichlid enthusiast. But if you look over my shoulder, you'll see that I also have back here, I guess those are cichlids. I have discus. I also have a planted community tank next to the discus tank. I have a variety of things. So I can't say I'm just big cichlids these days. I have a bunch of stuff, but I've expanded my horizons. But I am very much a cichlid enthusiast. And thank you for joining the live stream. It's appreciated. Tangled Up in Cichlids is also out of business. Wow. Yeah, anybody who thinks that selling fish is an easy business, that you just throw a few pictures up and the orders start coming in, it's tough. I remember watching James over at the Cichlid Shack in Arizona. He had a booming business, and all of a sudden there was a dip after COVID in people in the hobby and ordering fish, and boy, things went down the tubes fast. Together with a couple bad employees, it just imploded. Fly Guy wants to know where to get a flower horn. Where should he get a flower horn? Anybody know? Let him know in the chat. Gabriel is using me for background music also, as he does his maintenance. What protein treats can Mabuna have? Well, I would certainly, believe it or not, Mabuna would probably love the kind of wafers that you would provide to your cichlids. Something like this. Some kelp, some algae, some spirulina. I guarantee you that you drop some of those in the aquarium and they're going to be playing keep away, which is hilarious. In other words, they'll swim around with the wafer in their mouth, and then someone else will come and steal it, and then someone will steal it from him. It's just hilarious to watch. But yeah, your pleco wafers will work great as a Mabuna treat. DSGF, and that is a point to consider. If you have a mixed cichlid tank and it's a female, they're not going to eat. They're not going to eat for 20 some odd days. Oh, that's funny. Makes me want to create a t-shirt with your name on it. Fish Geek. That's hilarious. Fish Geek. Now, if you folks remember that video of Corey going to China, the fish scene in China is crazy. Unbelievable, the selection. Including some of those wild red arowanas, which are crazy. Of course, you're going to be paying big bucks. Well, I feel you, Whip. Right after this live stream, I'm going to be heading out to my granddaughter's dance recital. And she's a little over 3, and she's going to be part of a dance company. They're going to be performing today. So it's going to be pretty funny, I'm sure. I'm not expecting the, the Russian ballet. Unfortunately, some fish are so finicky and picky that they would get to a point where they're no longer have the energy to compete for food. They just get weak. And then at that point, it's done. So you don't want to mess around unless you have a fish that you come to know, like my Jack Dempsey, where I know she goes through phases, and so I let her go through her phases, and then she comes back and starts eating again. I've come to know her pattern. But if a fish is just not eating, I wouldn't just let it go for long, because now that, and keep in mind that African cichlid females do go for 20 days, right? When they're carrying but they're pretty weak at the end of those 20 days. This is why very often people will go ahead and vent them. We'll go ahead and get the fish out, put them in a tumbler. Proverbs can't get North Fin in the UK. I am sorry to hear that. Maybe someday. I think Darius is working on a Europe connection. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. Fly Guy is a new fish keeper. Welcome to the hobby. I am glad you're here. Michael losing the cichlid check. I hated it. He was really good to me. He helped me out a lot. And I hope wherever he is, he's doing well. I've reached out to him and haven't heard back. I don't know where he is right now. And I know he had to take a regular job somewhere, which was, after having your own business for so many years, must have been heartbreaking. I don't know the location, Alishan. I picked her up locally at the over here at the Aquatic Critter. He's commenting on the on Vinny. This is a mix. It has Northfin's mix. It also has some of Northfin's floating sticks. It also has some Sarah. And it has these nice little, these floating sticks. The fish love them. If you can make that out. Drives them crazy. You got to watch your fingers, especially with the chocolates. The chocolates have teeth. They will draw blood if they get you. The Oscar, he'll just latch on. Okay, let's watch them really lose their minds with some of these earthworm pellets. So they're getting about 6 different kinds of food in every feeding. I'm just glad I didn't get splashed. Not uncommon for them to splash where I actually get soaked. I'm talking about my hair, my clothes, especially the Oscar. Half his body will come out of the aquarium trying to get the food first. He'll try and muscle everybody out of the way so he can eat. Normally, I feed to all 3 openings on the aquarium, and that way, fish like the electric blue Ochart will have a shot because they just get horned out. All right, I've got to go get ready for this recital. My daughter saw the list from the dance instructor, and next to River's name, next to my granddaughter's name, in big letters it said, "She's a runner." So in the middle of the recital, she'll just take off. And so the instructor came over and she was so embarrassed. She's all red and, "Oh my goodness, that was not for you to see. That was only for me to see. I'm sorry you saw that. I hope you're not offended." My daughter was just cracking up. As a matter of fact, she took a picture of it, and we're probably going to make like a collage of the recital and put a picture of the note that says, in capital letters next to her name, the only dancer with a note next to her name, "She's a runner." Oh my goodness. Have a wonderful weekend, my friends. You are the best. Thank you to all of you for joining me. Thank you to my wonderful moderators for keeping it family friendly. Thank you to all of you who commented. And thank you to my wonderful members of Garage Gang, my Patreon members, all of you who are subscribed. And I will see you. Let me see. Will I be around? Yes. There'll be a live stream next week. Not the week after that, but next week there will be a live stream. So then I will see you then. Thank you, my friends. You rock. Love you. See you next week. Bye-bye.